Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, Julia from Craftroomadventues and I are back with a Challenge a Crafty Friend card. This time it was all about creating a rainbow card, which is a really nice thing to do. I think rainbows just make us all really happy. It's joyful, it's a lot of fun to create, and there are so many ways to incorporate a rainbow on your card. You can decide to color your images in kind of a rainbow assortment. You can go with the background like I did. Really, anything is possible with challenges like this and with a rainbow. For today's card, I created a slimline card, which has been a while since I started doing mini slimlines. I was completely sold by that, but I decided for today to get back into that slimline kind of card. And so I die cut a large slimline panel using the large slimline with sliders from Fawn. Now aside from that, I am going to use the cloudy stencil from Fawn to create my rainbow sky. Now I first wanted to have kind of a lot of clouds just to get into that sky area, and then I will on top have that whole assortment of rainbow colors appearing. Now I didn't grab any greens. I have peacock feathers, cracked pistachio, and then I skipped to squeezed lemonade. But if you mix cracked pistachio and squeezed lemonade, you also get a green. And so that's how I create my green for today's card, by just inblending two colors on top of each other, creating that gradient, and just checking whether that worked or not. Next I have the dried marigold, and I thought that this was going to work just until the top, and I don't know why I thought that, because there is kind of a lot of space left to fill. So I went back and forth between my colors, and then I took other colors as well. I picked raspberry to help me get more of a rainbow, but there was just too much to transition between, so I'm also adding spiced marmalade above the dried marigold. So really soft, my rainbow started really soft, but once I added that pink, you will see it kind of became a really bright and really in your face rainbow here. You know, the picked raspberry, it's a really bright color, and I don't use it often enough, but it's really a joy as a pink, you know. So here I was just thinking that it was just too much of a difference between that bright pink and then that really soft orange that I had, so that's why I just took another orange to help me. So I didn't incorporate red. Well, I think the pink is kind of harsh enough and it helps already with the rainbow. So that is my background actually. And it's a really bright one, as you also could see on the pictures. But I really love it for that as well. So I'm removing the purple tape, and then I had to decide which images I needed to use, and therefore I took my time because I just wasn't sure about it. I wanted to do a hot air balloon, but then I didn't, and so I ended up taking the Carried Away stamp set from Hello Bluebird. Now this stamp set has some balloons in it, and I'm just the worst in laying down the critters, stamping them out, and then not having them folded in a way that wasn't the original idea. So I first die cut the images that I thought I was going to use, and I did use all of them. I inlaid them back in the panel, and then I positioned my stamps on top to make sure that everything was sort of centered. And then I sent them out multiple times to just have that really crisp image, and then I could color all of them. Now I kept them inside of the paper. I normally do not die cut ahead of time because I find it easier to color when I have a whole piece of paper to help me and I don't need to wiggle with my fingers to keep that image in place. So that's why I kept it like this with some purple tape. Now for the kitten here, I decided to do something different from what I usually do. I don't think I ever colored a kitten like this with the texture on the fur. So it was a trial and error, but I'm really glad with how it turned out. So happy to have tried it. So I just built it up. As you know, normally I try to start coloring images completely, but here I really wasn't sure how much I needed to add. Was this going to be too much or too little? So I just took my time and was building up the kitten step by step, also doing 2 layers. And here I actually wasn't even thinking about shadowing. I just wanted that texture to show up. And then later on I just did some flicking to get a bit of shadowing going on as well. But first I tried this to make sure that I was happy with it, and then I could just add a tiny bit of my medium tone and my lightest to get a bit of shadowing. You will see that later on. On to the next part. And I also really like this combination. You might have seen me use it quite a lot lately. Also for pumpkins, I think it's amazing. If you want like not an orange and not a yellow, but in between, this color combination is great. Concerning the color combinations, if you want to revisit them later on, you can always find them on my blog post. And I'm always linking towards my blog in the description box here, so that you can easily find everything, also the supply list, without links, but at least you have the list, and maybe you have your favorite store where you can get all of these supplies. Okay, so I'm just building up here, and then I will move along to those other critters. I didn't want any of the critters to be in the same color combination, so you will get 3 combinations here in total. I just wanted a variety. We are creating a rainbow card. So that's the kitten, adding a bit more shadowing here. And then we will move along to the fox. Normally for the fox I have my favorite colors being E18, E15, E33 and so on, but don't know if you saw one of my videos, but my E15 truly it gave up on me. And as I said then, I'm not going to replace the nib. I did that already 3 times. It can be that there is a tiny crack in the cap, but so be it. I already added it to my list to buy when I make my next order at Card Nouveau. So that will be done then, and then I will again be able to use my fox color that I really love, because that is kind of an orangey brownish color. But I was also really surprised by this combination. I never use it on a fox, never. And the lovely thing is that although the E47 is like a really muted dark brown, that E37 is like a really bright brown. And just by combining those two together, it became this really warm brown combination that I truly adore as well. So it might be that I just keep using this one, but I need the E15 as well, you know. So I'm just blending it out with those combinations that I always use. E33 leads to E53, E51, E50. That's just for me. It's like the basic brown combination that I need, and I can add it on almost every combination of darker browns that I have. It's truly a match made in heaven, according to me. So if you're looking for a brown combination, a really soft one, I would recommend E33, E53, E51, and then you can add darker browns like I did here. You can add E37 in front. If you want more, you can add the E47. If you want more, you can even do E47, E57, E33. You know, it all leads to E33 for me, and then the other things are history, you know. So here I'm just making sure that I get that blend that I want, so I am going over it as much as I need, most of the time 2 times. But if I need more, I can. This paper is Transotype Perfect Coloring Paper, which is for me truly a paper that is like made in heaven for Copics. I got to know this paper by Sarah Zoppi. She is the amazing card maker on Instagram. She's one of my favorites, and I think she knows. So I cannot pronounce it. I think it's Le Cosabel di Sara, each time with an underscore, but I also think that you already know her if you have Instagram. And yeah, she recommended that paper for me when I was in trouble to get my Nina. And then once I tried this paper, I was immediately sold because it can handle quite a lot more than Nina. And there are other papers, so if you're happy with yours, perfectly fine. If you are struggling with your Copics, if you want to add multiple layers, then I would recommend this one. If you're still struggling with this paper, then maybe you are someone that is heavily adding inks, and that's perfectly fine. That helps with the transition between things, with just everything. But then just use your heat gun like I'm doing here to let your paper dry, give it a bit of time to rest, and then it can handle it again, I promise. So for the balloons, I was unsure about the balloons. I must admit that was also the reason why I didn't know whether these images were going to work out or not. But I decided to sort of use the same colors as where I was going to add the balloons. You know, these critters are hanging off balloons, and where sort of the yellow started, I wanted that star at least to pop in, then the heart in the red to go in the pinkish area, and then I will also do an orange balloon to go somehow in the orange area. So that was kind of the thought that I had when coloring, and I think it worked out. But as you can see, I am avoiding the bunny. I was really unsure. Now, I must admit, normally I love warm colors, so if I can, I would do all my critters in a brownish kind of color because it just softens things, and I have the warm grays, yes, but still, that's still a bit cold. Not compared to the cold grays, of course, but yeah. My W6 also was really dry, so I am not going to use that until I have the refill, also on my list to buy. I have all of the refills almost for the warm grays, except for the warm gray 6. So I decided to go with the grays, although I really wanted to use browns, but this way I really had 3 completely different combinations for my critters, and that is what I wanted to do. So therefore I'm really happy that I did it, and it's still a warm gray, if that can somehow comfort me. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. Also, I tried to have all of my shadows on the right side, as you can see here. So for the bunny, it was a bit against my nature. Normally when I have critters like these, I try to have the shadowing in the backs of them, so if they are facing towards the left side, the light source will be on the left side. If they're facing towards the right side, the light source will be on the right side. But I didn't. I tried to keep all of the shadowing in the same, on the same way, but anything actually works. As long as you're having fun, you like your coloring, you like the end result, that's the most important thing. Also, for the bird, I went with yellows. I actually used a part of the yellow combination from the star to put on the bird. I didn't want it to completely be the same. It's not going to be next to each other, so it is not bothering me at all. Even if it was the same, it would have worked. But somehow, well, I tried to do something different, but I just removed one of the markers. So I didn't do a lot of different things, you know. For the balloons also, I tried to have that sliver to appear more rounded. You could also have done that for the critters, but that I didn't do. So it's not completely the same or the same manner all over the card, but I like it. So I'm not bothered by not having that sliver on the critters. No worries for that at all. The tiny adorable bird, I don't know how they do it, but Hello Bluebird just has the most adorable birds in their stem sets, And there is only one in this one, so I used one. If there were 3, I would have colored 3 of them. It's just too cute to not use on the card, in my opinion. So I'm just blending from darkest to lightest, and we're almost done. So then we can try to get that positioning that we like on the card. Now, as you know, there was that purple. I didn't want to bend it too much, so I just decided to go in the back of the critters and just peel off that purple tape first. Then I could just pop everything out. So really slowly, I didn't want to rip anything, but in case it was on the back, but I didn't. So I was really happy. Look at these cuties! And they are completely stamped inside of that die cut area. And I love it. So I definitely think that if you're like me and there are balloons or anything and those strings are really fragile, when you're adding them to your Misty, sometimes it's just a bit wonky. And if it's too wonky, it will not be in the die cut. So therefore I think it's worth to take the time and first do that, die cutting, and then all of the rest. Now for the sentiment, I decided to go with the congrats from the gallery frame number 6. I wanted it on the bottom, and then that adorable bird can be just aside. I thought that was a nice idea. So I die cut it from white, and I had no clue yet how I was going to end up with this sentiment. So I had a white thing, and then I was afraid that I wasn't going to add it straight. I'm always using the negative, but in some cases it's really hard to position that negative correctly, and it's way easier to position the die cut. So I decided to die cut the congrats from the background as well, and then I would just layer everything on top, you know. So I positioned it on the bottom, I committed, added my purple tape, and then I rolled it through my die cutting machine. And now I'm going to lay everything on top of my card base, adding a bit more of that tape runner on the bottom to be able to inlay the congrats. And then I will just fix that. And I don't know what happened. I'm filming with my phone, and when I'm not there, it is sort of muting the colors from the card. So I was a bit upset while editing this video, but I think you can see which colors are the real ones. I also thought, well, why don't I just add the congrats and have it like in the same scenery and just really subtle there. And although I liked it, you will see later on, I just needed something more visible for that bird to be aside from, I thought. So you can definitely see the congrats, it's a bit lifted and it works. But I ended up using some glitter card from Tonic Studio, my favorite gold dust, and I just die cut the congrats out of that as well to put on top. And that's how the glitter came on top of my card. So while that is drying, I just try to add an acrylic block on top to keep everything flat. And then I could continue with my critters. These I'm going to put on top with some thin foam squares, all of them. So I'm using a combination of the bigger ones and then the small ones. Also snipping some of my foam squares to be able to put them in those tiny areas and really add kind of a lot of them on the back to reinforce them. A tip that I got from one of you that is really handy as well, also if you don't have a lot of foam squares or anything else that you like to use and you're running out of your favorite adhesive, you can always die cut your critters or your images multiple times and then add one on top of the others, as we also do with the sentiments. And it can also be a cheaper way to add your dimension. So thank you for the tip, and I hope that maybe one of you is also happy with that one. I'm really in love with my thin foam squares, but I know that I am running out of them quite often, so it will be a lifesaver once that happens. And it is also really sturdy, so in case you're like me and you're really adding kind of a lot on the back to get it really sturdy, I don't think you can go more sturdy than adding several layers of the critters itself. So I love the tip. So I'm trying to add them with the balloon kind of straight towards the top, because those are dragging the critters upwards. And for the rest, it can just hang off. I didn't want them to align straight underneath each other. So I have this irregular triangle going on with the 3 critters with the balloons. And then the bird. So you can stop here and add embellishments if you want to. As I said, I die-cut it from glitter cardstock. And then I just laid it on top. So I have 2 layers above my panel, in total 3 layers, because I cut it out of the panel. But actually there's only 2 on top. So I did that, and then I was thinking whether I needed to stop here or just add a bit more. And of course I have balloons here, so glossy accents all the way on top of the balloons. And I'm just making sure to cover it completely. I don't necessarily want a really high up balloon. Also my glossy accent is running out. I think I have one spare one, I don't know exactly, but I will add it to my basket as well, I think. And then on top of the noses, because it's really adorable. And then I decided to not stop here, but also add some embellishments. So I went for the little things from Lucy's cards, the bubbles. They have several sizes, but I always have a bit of an issue with the biggest one, just because it's really, really big. It's really, really high as well if you are going to put it in an envelope. So I went for the 3 smallest sizes, and I just put them a bit random, but not that random, you know, but a bit random on top of my card. And once I was happy with placement, I committed, added them on top with some liquid glue, and then this card is going to be completely finished. So I have some here and there, and a few around the sentiment. And then my card is completely finished. So as I said in the beginning, this card is one of our Challenge a Crafty Friend cards with Craftroomadventues Julia. So definitely check out her video, her card, give her some love. I am linking towards her YouTube channel, towards her specific YouTube video for this challenge. So I hope that you will check it out, that you will get inspired by both of us, and maybe your next card will be a rainbow card. I would love to see that. Thank you so much for stopping by, taking the time to watch this video. I truly appreciate you all being here and stopping by. I wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!